It's interesting to reflect back on Dad. He had a great devotion to the game. He grew up in it. He was a caddy master at 16. The only job he ever had was golf. He had one of the first cards in the PGA, card number 5. He believed in the associations and being involved in them. He was a very quiet, professional. He didn't say a lot of words, but what he said made sense. I should have written them all down. If I had, I would have a book of the job description of the perfect golf professional and how to get it done.
Well, in 1939, John Flattery was elected to his first post as Secretary-Treasurer of the section. He followed that with being the Baltimore area regional vice president. Half of that period, he also served as the section tournament chair. Then he was elected president for 2.5 years. And finally, after he stepped down from his presidency, they wanted him, they trusted him so much and thought so much of him that John Flattery was again elected as Secretary-Treasurer and continued to be elected for another 12 years. So over a 20-year period, John Flattery served the section like no other member in its history.
An interesting part of Dad's life was his relationship with the Palm Beach Golf Club, where he worked during the 20s, and then he also came back there during the 50s. It allowed him and also me and our family to meet some very famous people. I remember going to Mass with Dad one day on a Sunday morning, and they asked me to take up the collection on the right side, and it was Jack Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, taking up the collection on the other side of the church. One particular visit to see him down there, I had an opportunity to meet the Duke of Windsor, who wanted to play at the Palm Beach Golf Club, which did not open on Sunday until 1 o'clock, out of respect for the church across the street, which allowed them parking during the week. And the Duke of Windsor wanted to get out a little ahead of time, and Dad and I were sitting on the porch reading the paper, waiting for 1 o'clock for the club to open, and the Duke shows up and says, Mr. Flattery, I'd like to get out on the golf course. And Dad said the golf club will be open at 1 o'clock. And the Duke didn't like that. He wanted to play, but he waited till 1. And then Dad just said, it'll be open at 1. We'd be happy to get you a tee time. I was in the golf shop one Saturday afternoon, and a gentleman came down from the parking lot above, and he walked down, he came in the golf shop, and he said, "Is Johnny Flattery here?" And I said, "No, sir, he's out on the golf course." It was Saturday afternoon. He said, he's probably on about the 15th hole. He'll be in a few minutes. May I help you? He said, "Do you mind if I wait for him?" I said, "No." He walked out onto the patio, and he sat in one of the chairs by one of the tables. And I looked at him for a while. He kind of had his back to me, and I thought to myself, my gosh, that's Gene Sarazen. Dad and Gene Sarazen were good friends. I'd heard him talk about him many times, and he opened up the Allview Golf Course. And in the opening round, the foursome was Dad, Gene Sarazen, one of his golf buddies, Tom Kerrigan, and Johnny Farrell, who had just won the Open. They were all buddies. It's very interesting to think that of those 4 good players, on that afternoon, Dad whooped Sarazen. Dad was low gross.
I think Mr. Flattery is very deserving of this honor into the Mid-Atlantic PGA Hall of Fame, just mainly because of his dedication to the golf profession. I know he served as president of the Mid-Atlantic PGA in different capacities, president, treasurer, secretary, and in addition to that, his total devotion to the Green Spring Valley Hunt Club as the head professional there.
The Middle Atlantic section is just inducting John Flattery into its Hall of Fame now because he actually retired in 1974, many, many years before the Hall of Fame was established. And I think his legacy was lost because he was sort of an under-the-radar type of leader. He wasn't a real flashy man, and for whatever reason, his legacy was lost. And only because of the great research that Dr. Harold Guy has done were we able to discover this great servant to the Middle Atlantic section.
It's a wonderful tribute to a man who was so calm and so invisible in all the things that he did that it took a long time for him to be discovered. That's the way he lived his life, but the honor is here, and this means an awful lot to the family. And I know I speak for all of our relatives and the entire extended family that we're very, very honored to have this happen, and we're grateful, and he deserved it.